Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about something almost everyone thinks about, but very few people actually understand clearly. When most people really hit major money milestones, like $100,000, $500,000, and $1 million in net worth. And spoiler, it's probably not when you think. By the end of this video, you'll know the typical ages people reach these goals, why these ages make sense, and what you can do to move faster on your own journey. Before we go any further, let's make sure we're talking about the same thing when we say net worth. Net worth is simply your assets minus your liabilities. Assets include cash, investments, retirement accounts, property, businesses, anything you own that has value. Liabilities are your debts, student loans, mortgages, car loans, credit cards, and anything else you owe. The reason net worth matters more than income is simple. You could make six figures and still have a negative net worth if you're drowning in debt. On the other hand, someone with a modest income but very little debt and consistent investing could quietly be building serious wealth. When we look at broad data across age groups, a clear pattern appears. Net worth usually rises as people get older. Younger adults typically have lower balances because they're just starting out, paying off school loans, and renting instead of owning. In your 30s and 40s, incomes often rise, people begin buying homes, and retirement accounts have more time to grow. By the time people reach their 50s and 60s, many have paid down large chunks of debt and benefited from decades of investing and asset appreciation. Still, the median numbers are lower than most people expect, which means half of households are below those figures. That's important to remember because it shows that hitting big milestones isn't automatic. It takes intention and time. Let's talk about the first major goal most people focus on, reaching $100,000 in net worth. This is often described as the hardest milestone because early on, your money doesn't have much momentum. Your salary might be modest, your expenses are high, and investing contributions feel small. For people who save aggressively and start investing in their early 20s, this milestone can sometimes be reached in the late 20s or early 30s. But for many others, especially those dealing with student loans, high rent, or family responsibilities, it doesn't happen until the mid-30s or later. That's completely normal. The key thing to understand is that the first $100,000 is less about market returns and more about habits, budgeting, avoiding lifestyle inflation, paying down bad debt, and consistently putting money aside. Once someone crosses that threshold, something interesting tends to happen. The next milestone, $500,000 in net worth, often comes faster than the first $100,000, even though it's a much bigger number. That's because by this stage, careers are usually more established, incomes are higher, and investments have had years to compound. Home equity may be growing, retirement accounts are larger, and contributions are bigger simply because there's more money available to save. For many households, reaching this level happens in their 40s or 50s after decades of working, investing, and staying relatively disciplined. Still, not everyone gets there, but this is typically the period of life where wealth accelerates the most. Then we get to the milestone everyone loves to talk about, $1 million in net worth. This is the number that gets tossed around online, in podcasts, and in financial independence communities as a symbol of success. In reality, for the typical household, reaching $1 million usually happens much later than people expect, often in the late 50s, 60s, or even around retirement age. That's not because people are lazy or doing something wrong. It's because building that level of wealth usually requires long careers, steady investing, rising earnings over time, and decades of compounding returns. A small group of people get there very early through entrepreneurship, high incomes, or lucky investments, but for the majority, it's a slow and steady climb. So why do these milestones come so late for most people? There are a few big reasons. Early in life, income is low and expenses are high. Student loans, rent, childcare, and transportation can eat up huge portions of paychecks. Buying a home often means taking on a massive mortgage, which technically increases your assets, but also adds a large liability. And then there's compounding, the most powerful force in investing, which simply needs time.
In the early years, your portfolio growth mostly comes from your own contributions. Decades later, the market's growth can dwarf what you put in each year, but that doesn't happen overnight. This is why comparing yourself to influencers or viral success stories can be dangerous. Social media tends to highlight the exceptions, not the averages. The person who became a millionaire at 30 is interesting precisely because it's rare. Most people who quietly build wealth do it slowly, without flashy headlines, just by saving consistently, investing in broad markets, avoiding destructive debt, and sticking with the plan through good years and bad. So if you're watching this and thinking, "I'm behind," here's the truth. These milestones are benchmarks, not deadlines. Everyone's path is different. Someone who starts investing at 22 with a modest salary might end up in a better position than someone who earns a lot at 35 but saves nothing. What matters most is direction. Are you tracking your net worth? Are you spending less than you earn? Are you investing regularly? Are you increasing your savings rate as your income grows? Because the real takeaway from all of this isn't the exact age people hit a certain number. It's that wealth is usually built gradually, over long periods of time, through boring, repeatable behaviors. Not lottery tickets, not get-rich-quick schemes, just patience, consistency, and time. So now I want to hear from you. Which milestone are you currently working toward? Your first 10,000, 100,000, $500,000, or that first million? Drop it in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit like, subscribe for more personal finance videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.